Hi girls, it's Mrs. O'Brien. Today we're going to continue on with our presentation. So today's video is about elasticity of demand. So this is topic 3, lesson 3. This was shared on Google Classroom with you, these PowerPoint. So if you want to bring it up so you can follow along with me, this section is actually pretty short. So again, it's all about elasticity of demand. So we've already established in the law of demand that when the price of a good goes up, demand goes down, right? And the inverse is true. When the price of a good goes down, the demand for that item goes up, right? But just like with anything in life, there's sometimes exceptions to that rule, or there's times where even when the price goes up a lot, we would still buy it, right? So can you think of an item that you would still buy even if the price were to rise dramatically? So as we go through the lesson, we'll go through examples, but just think of maybe like Tropicana orange juice. If you are really brand loyal to Tropicana, you only really like that taste of orange juice. Even if it were to go from $4 to $6, which is a 50% increase in the price, you might still buy that every weekend at the supermarket, right? And then there's other items where even if the price was very, very slightly higher, that you would stop buying altogether. Perhaps a particular makeup brand or food that you like to go out to eat after school. Even if that bagel went from $2 to $2.10, you might say, I'm not going to buy it anymore. So this deals with elasticity of demand that we're going to go through together. Okay, so the way consumers respond to price changes is called elasticity of demand. And we categorize certain products as inelastic or elastic. So remember when I mentioned, was there, items that you would still buy even if the price went up substantially? Well, think about gas, right? If the price of gas goes from $3 a gallon to $7 a gallon, which is a huge price increase, are you still going to buy it? The answer is yes, right? Why? You need gas to run your car. There's no substitute for gas. And are you going to start walking everywhere? You could, but my guess is most of us would not, right? So gas is an inelastic item, right? It's not very sensitive to price change. The same with milk, right? I would guess most of us have milk in our refrigerator right now. So even if the price of milk goes up a lot, we're still going to purchase it. So that's considered an inelastic item. An elastic item is just the opposite. So demand that is very sensitive to change in price. So there is actually a whole formula to calculate elasticity, which we are not really going to learn just because I don't think that is beneficial for us in this class. But I do want you to know for your quiz that if you were to calculate the elasticity of demand and you got an answer that is less than 1, we describe that demand as inelastic. So that would be like milk or gas. If you use the formula for elasticity and you find a number, your answer is a number greater than 1, that means the demand is elastic. So that would be something like clothing or makeup or furniture, something that you could, if the price went up, you'd be very sensitive to your purchase of that. And then lastly, if you work out the formula, and if the elastic of demand is equal to 1, then demand is considered unitary elastic. So again, here is this very fancy formula where you're taking the original number minus the new number over the original number times 100 to get a percentage change. So if you went through all of these steps, again, you're just going to look at your answer. It's not really coming into focus. So again, if you work on that formula, it's less than 1, it's inelastic, greater than 1, elastic, equal to 1, unitary elastic. So just remember those 3 categories. So what affects elasticity? Well, again, girls, I think a lot of this is common sense. What's essential to you? So gas, milk, that's essential to you, right? So that's why you're still going to purchase it even when prices rise. So, we are in this really interesting situation now, right? Where I think a lot of us are actually looking at our own lives and seeing what is essential to me, especially now that we're, really staying home and we're not out shopping a lot. So if you do go to the supermarket, I think most of us, I know I am, are really looking and saying, what is essential for my family to have this week? Because I don't want to go back to the store tomorrow to pick up other goods, right? So that's really what we have to ask ourselves. And that's when we, figure out what is essential. Look at what happened with toilet paper, right? Everyone considered that an essential need, essential good, right? So even if the price of that toilet paper rises, people are willing to purchase it. Okay? So other things that go into elasticity are availability of substitutes. So that's like the gas. There's no substitute for it, right? So even if there are a few substitutes for a good, then even when the price rises, you may still buy it, right? So gas, milk, or tickets to see your favorite band, right? So if you want to go see Coldplay, there's only one band, Coldplay, right? There's no substitute for that ticket. So even if that ticket to see Coldplay goes up a lot in price, there's still a very good chance that you will purchase it because there's no substitute. The same is for medicine, right? So if you're a diabetic and you need medicine to manage your diabetes, that's an inelastic demand, right? You're gonna buy that medicine because you need it. Again, relating it to everyday life for us now, if you've been watching the news, following the news, like this is, there's a shortage of face masks now, right? So, that would be considered inelastic for many healthcare workers, right? They need that specific type of face mask to work, right? So there's no substitute for that one face mask that is recommended right now for hospital workers to use. So that has a demand, has an inelastic demand. Okay, so 1, are there substitutes? 2, basically the relative importance to your life. How much of your budget do you spend on the good? So, if you are spending 50% of your budget, we'll go back to your $200 paycheck that we talked about last lesson, right? So if you're spending $100 out of $200 of your weekly paycheck on clothes, even a modest increase in price will probably cause a large reduction in the quantity you purchase, right? Because your demand is elastic, right? You're very sensitive to that price change. But if the price of shoelaces doubles, right? Shoelaces, how often do you buy them, right? Probably rarely or never, right? So even if the price of shoelaces doubles, it accounts for such a small piece of your budget of that $200, it's inelastic. You'll still buy it. And then also remember, we have to keep into consideration, is that item a necessity or a luxury? So a necessity is a good people will always buy, even when the price increases. So you might consider that milk, definitely medication, right? Your gas, that's considered a necessity. But steak, say you enjoy a nice steak dinner with your family. If that price increases, that's a luxury, right? So instead of having steak twice a week, maybe your mom or dad will only make it once a week if the price goes up, right? You're able to cut back your consumption. But necessities, medication, milk, things like that, you're still gonna buy. And then also what affects elasticity is change over time. So, even when a price changes, consumers need time. We can't react right away. We can't change our spending habits right away. So we need time to find a substitute, right? So if a consumer cannot react quickly to price changes, their demand is inelastic in the short term, right? So just with the example of gas, in the 1970s, there was the gas crisis and the prices of gas went through the roof. So right away, consumers can't change their way of life immediately, right? So they're going to buy that high priced gas. But over time, consumers will find substitutes. So what could you do in that situation if gas becomes really, really expensive? Think about it for a second. What could you do over time to change your ways? So of course you could, start walking places, right? Or take the bus, public transportation, so you don't need to buy gas as often. You could carpool, or what happened was a lot of consumers started buying more gas-friendly cars. So instead of buying these big, big cars, gas guzzlers they call them, which needed a lot of gas to run, they switched their habits and bought small compact cars. So again, that didn't happen the first day, the first week, even the first month, but over time, consumers are able to adapt and they're able to change their ways. And then lastly, revenue, right? So elasticity of demand determines how a change in prices will affect a firm's total revenue. So revenue is just simply, it's a fancy word for, the amount of money a company makes, right? So how much they receive by selling its goods. So if you're Pronto Pizza and you sell 150 slices a day at $4 a slice, yep, this is math. I don't think this is too challenging for us to figure out. 150 times 4 is $600 per day. So their revenue is $600 per day. Okay, so how does elasticity of demand affect a firm's revenue, right? So remember when we went back to the pizza, if you're Pronto, do you want to charge $1 a slice or do you want to charge $6 a slice? Obviously you'd love to charge $6 a slice. I hope you can see this chart. But as we know, at $6 a slice, only 50 slices are going to be demanded. So 50 times 6 is $300, right? Whereas if you charge $2 a slice, your quantity demanded is 250 slices. So look, your total revenue for that day is $500, okay? So you're gonna make more money charging a lower price per slice of pizza, okay? So as a business owner, you really need to keep that into consideration because you obviously want to make a profit, okay? So raising the price of goods could actually force you to lose money. And then, so when you price a good, if you're a business owner, you really just need to consider elasticity in your decisions. Is the demand for that product elastic or inelastic? Because, if it's an elastic-ish item, makeup, clothes, furniture, tacos, right? An increase in that price, again, could reduce your total revenue, right? People will not buy it as much or as often. But if your item is inelastic, right, gas, milk, medication, etc., a firm could conclude that an increase in price will increase total revenue. So they have, they can up that price more often because people will still use it. All right, girls, that's the end of this lesson. I did just want to point out, give me 1 second. Here we go. Remember this guy, these videos we watched in the beginning of the semester together? So if you Google on YouTube, Crash Course Economics, Elasticity of Demand, there's also a great video as a supplement if you want to watch that as well. So girls, if you have any questions, you can always email me, but I hope you're enjoying the videos and, we're trying our best to simulate our in-class experience.